live in interesting times. Today's stories. Myanmar protests demand military to loosen grip on politics. Ebola in Democratic Republic of Congo. Authorities check temperatures at the Rwanda border. An official says Mexico was not prepared for the size of migration flow. Anti-government protest organized by elderly Hong Kongers. Floods destroy homes and leave residents marooned in India's Bihar. China says new tariffs will add to the obstacles of trade talks. Justice Department says on El Chapo's life sentence, justice was done today. U.S. House votes to condemn President Trump's racist comments. Plus, E3 goes big with multiplayer mixed reality, gaming gear, and noble causes. Hello everyone, I am Jennifer Polantan, bringing you stories from around the globe, and this is Eagle News, broadcasting from New York. Protesters in Myanmar called for the military to loosen its grip on politics on Wednesday as tensions mount over the country's army-drafted constitution ahead of national elections next year. The 2008 charter, enacted by the ruling junta after decades of repressive army rule, bars embattled civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi from the presidency and forces her to share power with the generals. It also guarantees a quarter of parliamentary seats to the armed forces, along with powerful defense and security portfolios. Parliament is set to discuss proposed amendments to the document, but military MPs hold a veto on any changes, prompting more than 1,000 protesters to gather in downtown Yangon and shout slogans demanding constitutional reform. But opinion over the issue is split. An rival protest later on Wednesday demanded Myanmar leaders keep the charter as is. 39-year-old Zar Chi Lin said, quote, "Democracy here is so young, it requires the military to be in parliament until democracy is fully fledged." The constitution has long been a flashpoint in Myanmar's politics. Suu Kyi's party, which won a landslide victory in 2015 elections, wants to downsize the role of armed forces, but the military insists it plays a stabilizing role in the country riven by conflict in border areas. Both the locally revered Suu Kyi, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, and Myanmar's army chiefs have been criticized for a brutal crackdown on the Rohingya Muslim minority in the country's west that provoked international outrage and a refugee crisis. The charter bars the de facto leader from the presidency because of an article that prevents anyone with military family members from occupying the post. Suu Kyi was married to a British academic with whom she had 2 sons. Instead, she took up the role of state councillor after winning landslide elections in 2015. Hardline nationalists oppose any constitutional amendments that would push the military to the fringes of political power. Suu Kyi's former legal advisor, Ko Ni, who had worked on drafting changes to the charter, was shot and killed 2 years ago in a plot by former military officers. Health workers check the temperatures of people crossing the border between Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda in order to detect potential cases of Ebola after a death in the Democratic Republic of Congo city of Goma on Tuesday. Around 80,000 people, including traders and travelers, cross the border every day. The governor of North Kivu province said on Tuesday the first patient to be diagnosed with Ebola in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo's city of Goma has died. The case, the first in a major urban hub in the region's nearly year-old epidemic of the disease, has sparked deep concern in the neighboring Rwanda and at the UN. The hemorrhagic virus outbreak, the second deadliest on record, has largely been contained in the remote parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo, but WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus on Monday said that confirmation of an Ebola case could potentially be a game-changer in the epidemic. The Goma patient has been described as an evangelical preacher who has traveled from the city of Butembo, one of the towns hardest hit by the outbreak. The health ministry said while there, he preached at 7 churches and regularly touched worshippers, including the sick, before taking the bus back to Goma last Friday. It said on his return on Sunday, he went to the clinic with a fever, was diagnosed with Ebola, and sent back to Butembo, which is better geared than Goma for treating the disease. The governor of North Kivu, Carly Nanzu, told reporters, quote, "Unfortunately, I can confirm that the patient died," adding that it happened while he was being transferred by road. More than 1,600 people have died from Ebola since August 1, when the hemorrhagic virus erupted in North Kivu and spread to neighboring Ituri. Health experts fear outbreaks in major cities, where population density and high mobility make it far harder to isolate patients and trace contacts compared to the countryside. Rwanda said Monday it would step up border monitoring and urged its citizens to avoid unnecessary travel to the eastern DRC. People infected with Ebola do not become contagious until symptoms appear, which is after an incubation period of between 2 to 21 days. High fever, weakness, intense muscle and joint pain, headaches, and a sore throat are often followed by vomiting and diarrhea, skin eruptions, kidney and disease failure, internal and external bleeding. In the current epidemic, the mortality rate is running at 66%. The worst Ebola outbreak, striking 3 Western African countries between 2014 and 2016, claimed more than 11,300 lives. Meanwhile, in Mexico, Undersecretary for Latin America and the Caribbean Maximiliano Reyes says that Mexico was not prepared for the size of this migration flow and is making an effort to reach a better capacity.
Lo saben, México no estaba en el pasado preparado para este tamaño de flujos migratorios, y el esfuerzo que estamos haciendo el día de hoy y que ya se ha realizado desde principios del año en algunas estaciones migratorias obedece a ello, obedece a tener una capacidad mejor.
In Hong Kong, the elderly of Hong Kong organized a march against the government from Central to Admiralty neighborhoods.
啲銀髮族咧，其實咧就係即係醒覺啦，因為覺得以前咧我哋嗰一輩咧，實在係太過咧隻眼開隻眼閉，由得個政府做咩就做乜嘢。咁但係而家即係反而俾啲年青人咧，真係提醒咗我哋咯，其實唔可以真係再沉默落去咯。
一路香港人就好似覺得啲老人家一係就不人睇世事，一係就好落後、好離地咁。但係其實我哋今次事件都反映到好多，其實香港好多老人家咧都係好清楚發生緊咩事嘅，咁佢哋而家出嚟都係要支持我哋班後生仔咯。
Survivors scrambled to higher ground with their belongings as deadly torrential monsoon rains hit South Asia, including India's eastern state of Bihar.
हो रहा है कि घर में पानी घुसा हुआ है, जान मान का ये सब का नुकसान हो रहा है। उसके बाद में घर में पानी घुस गया, अब कितना दिन हम लोग रोड पर रहेंगे, इसलिए कि हम लोग के खाना में और हर चीज़ में यहाँ व्यवस्था नहीं है ढंगर। कैसे हम लोग चूरा उड़ा फाँक के चौक चौराहा पर से कीन कर कैसे अपना गुजर कटेंगे।
बाती हाँ अपने जान लेके खाली चल आई और सारे सामान मेरे कल के बक वहीं सी और बकरी लेके खाली आई।
कहूँ नहीं राशन भी लाने जाने के दौर भी नहीं है, रास्ता पर नहीं है, हम लोग के निकलने के साधन कहूँ नहीं है।
Coming up, China says new tariffs will add to the obstacles of trade talks. Justice Department says on El Chapo's life sentence, justice was done today. U.S. House votes to condemn President Trump's racist comments. Eagle News will be right back. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News. China's foreign ministry said new tariffs will set new obstacles for trade talks between China and U.S. after U.S. President Donald Trump said there's still a long way to go to reach a trade deal and threatened to slap tariffs on another $325 billion of Chinese goods.
美方认为目前距离达成经贸协议还有很长路要走。我这里正好有一句中国话来作为回应，那就是千里之行，始于足下。不管道路多漫长，只要你迈开脚步，坚定向前，总能到达终点。所以这里我们也要奉劝美方，要拿出决心，还有毅力，同中方一道，在相互尊重、平等相待的基础上，来共同努力，来争取达成一份互利双赢的经贸协议。
Brian Benkowski, Assistant Attorney General for the Justice Department's Criminal Division, said that justice was done today after drug lord Joaquin Guzman was sentenced to life and 30 years.
Mr. Guzman thought for more than 25 years that he was untouchable, that there was no problem affecting the Sinaloa cartel, that he couldn't bribe, intimidate, torture, or kill his way out of. But thanks to the hard work of the men and women of federal law enforcement, the offices of the individuals who are standing with me and behind me, justice was done today. Today brings a measure of justice for the American people. It brings a measure of justice for the country of Mexico, whose institutions were corrupted for decades by Mr. Guzman and the Sinaloa cartel.
It means that never again will Guzman pour poison over our borders, making billions while innocent lives are lost. We cannot undo the violence, misery, and devastation inflicted on countless individuals and communities by the drugs that Mr. Guzman and his organization inflicted on our country for more than 2 decades. But we can ensure that he spends every minute of every day of the rest of his life in a prison here in the United States. The same fate awaits anyone who would seek to take his place.
Today's life sentence really has a profound impact in our country. This is the only sentence that can be given to somebody who has spent a lifetime poisoning the streets of our community.
One of the world's most powerful and notorious criminals, Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, was jailed for life on Wednesday, the mandatory sentence for a host of crimes spanning a quarter century. Guzman, the 62-year-old former co-leader of Mexico's mighty Sinaloa drug cartel, was convicted in February in U.S. federal court on a spate of charges, including smuggling hundreds of tons of cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and marijuana into the United States. The much-anticipated hearing in New York capped a dramatic legal saga and saw Guzman deliver what will likely be his final public words before he is taken to a supermax federal prison to live out his days. Wearing a gray suit, lilac shirt, purple tie, and publicly sporting his trademark mustache for the first time stateside, he said, "There was no justice here." The charges, which also include money laundering and weapons-related offenses, carried a mandatory life sentence. U.S. federal judge Brian Cogan tacked a symbolic 30 years onto the sentence and ordered Guzman to pay $12.6 billion in forfeiture, an amount based on conservative estimates of revenues from his cartel's drug sales in the United States. So far, U.S. authorities have not recovered a dime. The United States House of Representatives approves a resolution condemning racist comments by President Donald Trump. 4 Republicans and an independent joined 235 Democratic lawmakers in supporting the resolution.
Yeas are 240, the nays are 187. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. House will be in order.
When we come back, E3 goes big with multiplayer mixed reality, gaming gear, and noble causes. Eagle News will return shortly. Stay with us. This is Eagle News, and I am Jennifer Polintan. E3 is one, if not the most popular gaming conventions in the world, and getting the most out of it takes more than one day. That's why our EBC Los Angeles Bureau was there for several days. This time, our team experiences a multiplayer mixed reality world, checks out cool and practical gaming gear and clothing, and of course, there were video games. Alan and Eva Basalehe with the report.
Our second day at the Electronic Entertainment Expo in Los Angeles, California, sees our team pleasantly plodding through exhibits that you may not necessarily expect to find at a video game convention. Alan, where are we going?
We are going to take a stroll through a garden, but because it's E3, this garden tour ought to be unreal. Oh, and we'll also check out some games today too, which should also be unreal.
The Unreal Garden is a true mixed reality experience. It basically blends the physical, sound, projections, haptics, and augmented reality. So it's the first ever multiplayer, mass consumer location-based AR experience that exists today. So the idea is that you can have up to 40 people in experience, and the interactivity is shared across the board, so you see what everyone else does and everyone sees what you do. But what's even more beautiful is that if you bring people together to actually engage on certain areas with you, then the content becomes even more exceptional. It really is a magical world, so once you put it in the headset, you're going to see everything from flora and fauna from different dimensions, as well as interactive activation points and some incredible projections that are activated once you connect with the AR.
The bag that I'd really like to talk to you guys about today is our core gaming backpack. It could be the traditional person going into work with looks like a conservative backpack, but at a moment's notice, let me go ahead and brag about what I'm doing here. It's designed right here to put a power pack inside of it with a USB connection 3.0 that could come out onto a side port. Here's a place for an iPad. Put a console inside of here, Xbox One, a PS4. Completely opens. We call this the scan fast feature, helping you move through airport security. Put a full keyboard inside. Plug it into your laptop and be charging your laptop as you're walking around. A rain cover that's politely tucked neatly, shock absorbing straps on it. And we made sure when you're picking that thing up, extra bolts and rivets on there, make it sturdy as can be.
We all really love video games, and we all love science fiction and fantasy and things like that, and when we're playing those games, we kind of imagine ourselves as those characters, right? We want to be those characters, and so what we do is we make streetwear that will help you feel that way and be that superhero or supervillain every day. This is Dante's coat from Devil May Cry, and I can say that because we actually work directly with Capcom on this one. So this is the designers at Capcom signing off on this jacket and saying if Dante was a real guy, this is the jacket he would wear. And this is not a costume. This is a more subtle, a little more elegant, and a little more functional version of what you see in the video game, inspired directly by that game. So it's our version of what he's wearing in that game.
With an abundance of games to try out, we decided to focus day 2 on racing games.
We have 3 major improvements on the games this year. The first is the car behavior. We have totally shifted to the simulation side. The second is the integration of the dynamic weather. So you can start to race under the sun and finish under the rain. So you have to develop a strategy. And the third big point of the game is the career mode. Totally new. We developed it from scratch. And the goal now is to say you can win the race outside of the race. So you're a driver and a manager, and you are in a sports team.
The LEGO Speed Champions expansion is the second major expansion for the game Forza Horizon 4, which came out last fall. This is the second expansion. If you love LEGO, and if you love cars, and you like playing Forza, it's like a perfect marriage. It's really, I mean, both both Horizon and LEGO both celebrate freedom and fun and discovery, and to have the two of them together is just a perfect pairing. And after they play it, they get to sit in this amazing McLaren Senna, which is made out of nearly 500,000 LEGO bricks. LEGO and McLaren teamed up to build this car. It took a team nearly 6 months to build. And nearly 500,000 LEGO bricks. And it's the first sort of interactive one that they've done where people can get inside and press some buttons and hear the engine. It doesn't really have an engine, but it sounds cool.
This was the first E3 experience for some gamers, and the ones we met with were happy to finally make it to the big show.
Most people, they love video games, so everybody's like connecting, enjoying themselves, and I think it's like a Disney World for gamers.
Borderlands 3 was by far my favorite. Nintendo, the whole everything, Luigi's Mansion. This is my first E3 physically coming here. I usually watch it on the internet, but I've had a blast.
I'm really excited. I can't wait to see some of these games come out. I already know my bank account's going to be a little unhappy with me in a couple months here, but really excited, really happy, and glad that I got to experience this event.
Completing our exploration for the day were scenes that piques the curiosity and tugs at the heart.
Extra Life is a way for gamers to play games and raise money for their local children's hospital. Extra Life was inspired by the life of a young girl whose life was taken from leukemia. Her name was Tori Edmond, and she inspired this program. Gaming is used in many of our hospitals to give that escape and even that distraction during surgery or during recovery. Boston Children's Hospital is one of our hospitals. I know that they do that. They have VR experience, so while the kids are undergoing surgery, they can experience gaming and actually have a faster recovery rate and have less pain and impact due to those surgeries overall.
All right, now, Lou, when the attendees walking through those doors, maybe not the first thing they'll see about your particular setup here is the good cause. Probably the first thing they'll see is that incredible human claw machine over there.
So when you're at E3, you gotta go big, or else no one's gonna notice you. And so we teamed up with GameStop and a huge list of amazing sponsors to provide an experience for the E3 attendees, where we can inspire these attendees to become participants to raise funds for their local hospital by strapping them into a harness and literally lowering them into a pit filled with boxes. And there's prizes that they can redeem in each one of those boxes provided by GameStop and a whole list of amazing sponsors, all in the name for awareness and advocacy for the health of children across North America.
While the video game industry continues to prove that it is the future, when it comes to sick children, hopefully someday that will be a thing of the past.
With the efforts of organizations like Children's Miracle Network and their partners, a union of video gaming and healthcare might be the perfect combo in healing more than just a broken body. Reporting from the Los Angeles Convention Center at E3,
Day 2.
This is Eva and Alan for Eagle News, and we are 1 with 25.
Thanks, Eva and Alan. That is today's Eagle News. Join us tomorrow for the weekend edition. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I am Jennifer Polentan, and I'm 1 with 25.